Hello, I'm Alison. I'm the founder of Bracket and the author of A Pocket Guide to Effective Workshops. In this video, I'd like to share 5 tips to help you facilitate your next session. Now, these are quite subtle tips. They're things that I've picked up through trial and error facilitating loads of workshops. But even though they're quite subtle, they do make quite a bit of difference. Tip 1, allocate more time for your first exercise. Now, what I found is that the first exercise that I set in a workshop always takes a little bit longer than planned. And the reason being is that it also serves as a warm-up to help get your participants in a collaborative mindset. Usually my first exercise is some kind of variation on breaking the participants into smaller groups, giving them a question to explore, and then asking them to feed back the main points in their discussion. And it just takes a little bit of time for them to get their brains into gear and, as I say, get used to the collaborative mindset. Tip 2, give each workshop participant a stack of sticky notes. Every workshop will feature sticky notes. They're really versatile. You can stick them on walls, you can move them around, you can use them to cluster ideas. But another reason is you want to use them to help make sure that all of your participants have the chance to contribute to the discussion. So if you give each participant a stack of sticky notes, then what happens is they can jot down ideas as and when they get them, regardless of when somebody else is speaking. Sometimes in workshops, the most senior people dominate, or the loudest people, or the people that are more extroverted, and the quieter ones, the more introverted participants, get a bit sidelined, that you don't always get their ideas heard. So if you give everyone a stack of sticky notes, as I said, they can write down their ideas as and when they get them, and then you as a facilitator can ask everyone to feedback what they've actually written down on the sticky notes. Tip 3, all writing in all caps. Now, this tip is just really for making all of the content more readable. It can be quite difficult to encourage all of your participants to write in all caps throughout the workshop when they're engaged in tasks or group working tasks, they're generating ideas, and they're kind of, really focusing on what they're doing, and probably the last thing they're thinking about is how readable their handwriting is. So if you can encourage your participants to write in capitals, then the better. But at the very least, make sure that you do write in all caps when you're documenting the discussion on the flip chart. It did take me a little bit of time to get used to writing in capitals and writing quickly, but it really does make a difference, because even my messiest writing in all caps is more readable than my neatest script writing. Tip 4, use a different flip chart pen colour for documenting each discussion. Again, this tip is just for the simple reason of making your content more readable. As you go through the workshop, you're going to be writing up lots of notes on flip charts and displaying it around the room. So when you write up each discussion, use a different flip chart pen colour, and it just makes it easier on the eye when it's displayed around the room, much easier for your participants to refer to and recall on content from each of the exercises. Tip 5, use group working time to get back on track with your facilitator duties. As a facilitator, when you're running a workshop, there's lots for you to do. You've got to keep on time, you've got to make sure that all your participants are contributing to the discussion, make sure everybody's comfortable with the task, and just make sure that you're progressing through the workshop in the way that you need to. So there are times in the workshop when you're not necessarily needed, and you can take a step back and just make sure that you're getting back on track. And these are mainly the group working times. So once I've set a task for the groups and they're comfortable with what they're doing, and they know exactly what they need to do, I can take a step back and review my facilitator duties. And I particularly like to use that downtime to review the content that has been generated so far. So when I'm writing and documenting discussions up on a flip chart, sometimes it can be quite difficult to synthesize and summarize the content on the spot. So these group working times are a really good time to give yourself another opportunity to see if you can spot any further insights, make any observations, and then you can feed it back to the group a bit later on. So those are 5 tips to help you facilitate workshops. Hope you enjoyed them. You can find many more tips for facilitating, running, designing workshops on my website, bracketcreative.co.uk.